And we're starting off, of course, talking about some of what happened yesterday in the limited voter registration exercise geared at those who have just turned 18. There were some incidents yesterday, power outages, equipment that wasn't functioning properly, polling stations, or should I say registration centers that were non-existent, among others. But what are the solutions? What are the key lessons from yesterday that we can use segueing into today? We have our guests joining the conversation, starting with Evans Nimako. He is Director of Research and Elections with the New Patriotic Party. We'll have other guests join as time goes on. Mr. Nimako, good morning.
Good morning, my brother. How are you doing?
I'm well, oh. You've not been looking for your brother.
Because you stopped fellowshipping, so we hardly know.
Mr. Nimako, all of a sudden, the connection has gone very low.
Hello?
Yes, better now. I didn't catch what you said.
Yes, I'm saying that because you stopped fellowshipping, so we'll have difficulties making that.
I see. Okay. But just starting off, what are your impressions, immediate impressions of the start of the limited voter registration exercise?
Well, thank you very much for this opportunity. I would say that yesterday experience was not one of the best, but the challenges that has to do with network issues will have a little solution from us. For us as a party, we had found out our agents, our national and party executives across to monitor this exercise. Limited registration exercise for 21 days requires of us that for each of the centers that the EC will be doing the registration, we send someone as an agent who will look through the exercise and ensure that the CI that is to be used is complied accordingly. And so we had gone out readiness to go through the exercise, except that these challenges confronted the whole exercise. We are certain that the remaining 20 days, the EC infrastructure will not give us these kind of experiences going forward.
So that means you have some concerns from yesterday. Have you expressed these concerns with the Electoral Commission's officers, hoping that they would do better today? It's not to say, things are so bad, but at least we want to avert all of these so that many more people can get registered. Did you register this displeasure with the EC?
Oh, definitely. The party leaders, the national chairman, general secretary, will definitely come out at the appropriate time. We just went through day one. And as I said, this is a 21-day exercise, which commenced yesterday, ending 27th of this month. Yes, day one's experience was not the best. We are expecting to have a different experience than we saw yesterday. And at the end of the day, the party definitely, we've never gone through this exercise that the New Patriotic Party will not issue out its concerns at the appropriate time. We will do so.
There's one area, though, that you can't really fault the Electoral Commission. That is with power outages. What do you think can be done about that?
I don't know whether you've gotten full facts of all issues that occurred in the 268 district offices that registration was supposed to take place, plus the 785 difficult to reach areas. Whether the issue was power outages or the EC's network connectivity issue. So please, it is too early to conclude emphatically on some of the issues that may have caused this challenge. What I have gotten had nothing to do with power outages. So I'm saying that we need to just take cautious. We've gone through day one. We will not create any tension as the NDC appears to be doing. But the New Patriotic Party is mainly concerned with the application of the laws to ensure that all those who are eligible to be registered will get the opportunity to do so. You see, my brother, anytime we start to do registration, the bone of contention has always been the issue of the guarantor system. I'm praying that this time around, we will all respect the rules. And you see, it happens because people who have not turned 18 will be motivated by some stakeholders to try and get their names onto the electoral roll. This is not welcome. People who are not Ghanaian will want to be registered to get onto the electoral roll. Mind you, the register is key in this whole exercise. So we are present to ensure that in all these registration centers, it is only eligible people who must be registered by the EC. Other than that, there are platforms available to us to challenge, and we will do so in line with the law.
Right, and of course, that is what is expected of you. But just to clarify, Mr. Nimako, so when you were talking about we have to tread cautiously with some of what we are saying, as for the network challenges, in fact, I have from the EC a plethora of challenges they faced. But the bit about power, as per reports and as per the EC itself. Now, if you look at the seventh point, light out in some areas, some parts of northern regions, Swaman, Bibiani, Bekwai, Amenfi West, Suhum, Upper Dentra, West Gomoa Central, Dafiama, Busie, Isa, among others, also comes up. So I don't know why you think it was maybe cooked up or something. There were power challenges as well.
Mr. Kapo, I'm not saying it's cooked up. The places you've mentioned, if we are looking at the number of registration centers in these areas, I don't know the composition, whether it constitutes 20%, 10% of the registration centers, or what percentage. I'm saying that we've gone through day one with challenges. EC system not performed because of network issues. The initial arrangement that came to us was that there were activation code issues and all that. But I don't want it to sound as if it's power outages that caused the whole issue of people not being able to register.
Oh, no one is suggesting that. That's not.
That is the impression I don't want. That's why I said we should tread caution. I didn't say that anybody anywhere is trying to cook stories for the consumption of the general public.
Okay, so let's look at, and of course, like I started by saying, the EC did a good job yesterday. You can't take that away from them. The only bits are that we want as many people who are qualified to register. The EC itself has a target of about 632,000 based on the analysis of how many people get registered every year or every 4 years. So we're hoping that they can even meet or exceed. But there are other challenges, some of which I'll bring your way before I get to other things that we saw on the ground. So as part of this documentation, right, printouts, the claim is that over 90% of the centers were not able to print out the required start of day printout across the country. Yesterday, I had Dr. Sribo Kweku here, who was here while we mentioned that some parts had not even started at 7, that they could not start. Then there were late starts in a number of centers due to power outages, network challenges, and some other technical problems. So if you look at the region, even in Ashanti, Adansi Asokwa, Ifija Setre East did not start. In Adansi Asokwa, it started at 9:53. In the western region, Amenfi East started at 9 a.m. In Shama, Mpoho, Sekendi, and Nandom, there was no start at all. Then you look at Upper West, Nandom, not started. Upper West, Sisala West, not started. Northeast, all of them were affected, not started due to system malfunctions and all that. Then in terms of code activation, Bono, OT Central, Upper East regions, were affected. Network challenges, Volta, Afajato South, Bando, Anglo, Ketu South, Agotime, Ziope, all affected. Western North, Bodi, Akontombra, Sefiri also, Northeast, Wale Wale, Northeast again, Kabodi. I mean, it goes on and on. All the way to Savannah, Greater Accra, Ablekuma Central, Ablekuma South, Ningo Pram Pram, Adan, all affected. And then maybe the fifth point before you come in. System malfunctions. Registration at some centers were not going on due to challenges with machines and other technical challenges. So Bono East, Western, Volta, Savannah, it goes on and on. How do you feel we can streamline this? Thankfully, it's just day one. So we have ample time to get things done. What's the collaboration like, and what are your expectations for today on the back of that?
Well, I'm happy this is coming from the EC that they've been able to categorize the issue. When you see the end of day report, this is supposed to come to parties with the presentation at the registration centers to know exactly the number of people who were registered and captured in the system. So that's the end of the report. In previous registration exercise, you realize that if your agents are not able to write these names of those who have sent out to register, end of the report printout will give you a challenge. And so this is something that is experienced over the years. We're hoping that in this 21-day exercise, we won't experience it. But when the whole exercise started, what came through was that their network or systems were not functioning. A few places will have the challenge of power outage. But I'm saying that it was just day one, and we wouldn't want to use the bad experience of day one to judge the whole exercise, because ahead of us in the remaining 20 days, we don't know exactly what is going to happen. All that we expect is that the EC system will function properly. We are also informed by the EC that in an event of power outage, the system has an inbuilt generator or power system that can enable people to register. And so that's why I'm saying that let's hasten slowly on the issue of outages. It wasn't mainly because of power outages. That one, and I can assure you. But activation code issue on the part of the EC is what needs to be addressed. And we are looking forward that the remaining days people will not spend their time to visit registration centers and will be denied because their system is not functioning properly.
There was also this issue that came up. My colleague Sweetie Abochi was on hand in Ayawaso Central, and she makes mention of this place where she was, and a purported national security operative was being filmed. He got upset. But what was happening? He was supposedly letting some people, some of whose ages are a bit in doubt, whether they are not much more than 18 or less, somehow getting them into the registration center, jumping the queue, and it became a bit problematic. I bring it up because of the importance of our security operatives in the entirety of the process and how they shouldn't be seen to be compromised. Your reaction to that? I mean, how do we stave the process of such happenings so that things can go on without people feeling intimidated or as though some people were being treated more than others?
Well, I've mentioned that all stakeholders must respect the rules of the game. My brother, it's not because I've known you. You visit my village and you inform the chief that we are from national security. Nobody will know. And this exercise is being managed by the EC. And so issue of national security's involvement in I can hardly speak to it. Unfortunately, I was not at this registration center, and I don't have the full facts yet. But what the New Patriotic Party has always spoke against has been the issue of this guarantor system, because it is always abused. It is the reason why the New Patriotic Party supported the EC to table a new CI that will address this issue of guarantor system, so that if we're using our Ghana card as a means of identification, I'm not saying it will have been 100% foolproof, but largely the abuse would have been lesser. But unfortunately, we missed the point. So we are expecting that all those who are supposed to go through this exercise will respect the laws. And the EC on this issue must be very firm in getting the security to arrest and prosecute. The New Patriotic Party would not support anything other than ensuring that the laws are complied and you have a very peaceful and smooth arrangement. They said national security person, I don't know him. I'll have difficulty speaking to you because I don't have the full fact.
Mr. Dimako, please hold for me. Let me also bring in Dr. Omane Boamah into the conversation. Good morning. Good morning, Doc. Do we have Dr. Edward Omane Boamah on the line? Okay, so it doesn't appear we have him. At least I cannot hear any feedback from him. But I see that he put up something on Twitter, was it yesterday or so, where in fact he took a screenshot or a photo of a voter card that had been printed. I will not mention the person's name, but with the person's voter ID and then age 19. The residential address is Kasua Town, Kasua, but the district is given as Ayawaso North. And he was posing the question, Electoral Commission, how can Kasua, that is Central Region, be Ayawaso North in the Greater Accra region? And he says, day one of the voter registration exercise has seen avoidable challenges. Late start, inaccessible activation codes, EC's poor network, excuse Dumso, and more. And he says the EC must do better, since he's not joined us yet. Mr. Nimako, do you have, I mean, you are not an EC official, so I cannot say that. Okay, so we have Peter Otokunor joining the conversation right now. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Right. I was just reflecting on your colleague Omane Boamah's reflections on some of what happened yesterday. But let me find out, what are your reactions from what happened yesterday, day one of the limited voter registration exercise?
Well, first of all, I think that this exercise started rather slowly, and it was expected because the Electoral Commission heralded the processes with very low publicity. And so you would expect that public awareness would be low, and that means that participation would be low. But there are areas where we have seen significant, participation of citizens, because political parties, as part of our efforts to get most of our people registered, have engaged in mass mobilization exercise. We had raised the issue with the registration centers being located in the district offices, which we felt would be a challenge for participation. And so that meant that the political parties had to do much more to get people to register. But I mean, yesterday, day one, the numbers were rather low, and we expect that it will pick up, but not without challenges. We have seen some numerous challenges across board. Some instances, very late start of the exercise, which got people standing in queues for a very long time. We thought that the registration processes, we will not have such instances, but I mean, we have recorded instances where people have been in queues for a very long time, and they had to get the registration done rather late. Then we have seen other concerns as well, which we have raised with the Electoral Commission. Some include activation codes. Some of the BVR devices, had issues with the activation processes. And we have realized and picked some information which we are cross-checking with the Electoral Commission on the motive behind the switch in the processes for activation of the devices.
What do you think the motives could have been?
Indeed.
Because once you use the word motive, then you are suggesting something.
Certainly, I'm driving directly at that. Indeed, if you look at the processes that were previously employed in activating the BVRs, previously the Electoral Commission at the headquarters will give them a general entry point into the BVR devices, give them the activation codes. Then when you have accessed the BVR, then you now change the activation code to a local activation code, which local activation code will now restrict you to only operating in that district. And for that matter, nobody else sitting anywhere can have an external access to your system. But the processes have changed now. Now the Electoral Commission is now asking the districts to devise their own activation codes and send the respective activation codes back to the headquarters. So this is a reverse process, which we felt may be problematic, because if anybody sitting at the headquarters is having access to the activation code, that means that for every district, somebody sitting at the headquarters can access the BVR devices, and that may be problematic. And so we are worried about the motive behind the switch in processes, particularly having realized that now the Electoral Commission headquarters is not a safe place to be keeping, electoral materials, as has been recorded recently, where some DVDs and BVR devices.
I think explanations have been clear. Explanations have been given on that, on what exactly happened. They met, and when I had Dr. Sribo Kweku here just a few days ago, he made clear. In fact, yesterday, he made clear they had reached end of life. There are protocols in terms of dealing with them, and those protocols were followed. So why do we keep going back and forth on that point?
Well, I guess maybe we may be speaking about different things, but if we are speaking about the same BVR devices that
you're speaking of the stolen ones, not the auctioned ones. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I'm talking about the stolen ones.
Yes, but even on the stolen, on the ones, Dr. Otokunor, on the stolen ones, the EC, Director of Electoral Services, made clear that there are processes. Again, the computers, for example, they are used for a specific period and they are discharged before whatever. So there's no way any information that person would have had on the computer, there would be nothing on that system. So that's why I'm struggling, because per his explanation, if we had to go by it, per that explanation, then whether the stolen ones or the ones that had been auctioned off, there was no information on them, and they can't possibly be used anywhere.
So, Gapo, that would be grossly misleading if anybody tells you that it cannot be used anywhere, because we are talking about specially designed laptops that fit into specially designed BVRs with the softwares for registration. All those laptops that were stolen have the interface of the BVR system. In actual fact, the activation code that I'm speaking about is activated on the laptop, not on any of the accessories of the BVR. Remember, the BVR comes as a briefcase with a number of accessories, and the key accessory to the BVR is the laptop. The rest is the fingerprint, a scanner, and if you want, the camera that takes the photos. Now, when you get the laptop, you actually have a full BVR, because the fingerprint scanners, you can get some, for even 200 Ghana cedis anywhere. Then the cameras, you can get some for even 100 Ghana cedi anywhere. And so anybody having access to the laptop has complete access to a BVR.
But again, the point is made that No, I'll let you land. But the point is made that these laptops or the BVRs use SD cards. There are QR codes and all of that. And election to election, there are specific ones that are used. In other words, what was used in the past election, you can't necessarily use them because each one has a QR code. That means that you can't go and use something that has been stolen. It's a batch, and they stick according to that. Does not give you confidence?
If you had allowed me, perhaps maybe you would have understood the processes better. This has nothing to do with QR code. The BVR has nothing to do with QR code. The BVR is the system that allows you to register an individual. So when you come in there and they activate the software, it opens up and gives you an interface where you can enter the name, the bio details of the individual, then you take a picture, then you add the fingerprint scanner, which automatically enters into the database of the Electoral Commission. So immediately you have been able to activate that software. You are in the database. Anything you enter goes into the database. And that's why you are able to get a printout. It is not an SD card problem. That is the BVD. Remember, there are two things here that confuses people. We have the BVD, which is a biometric verification device, which is used on election day, which again, some have also been stolen. They claim it was damaged, but they have now agreed that some have been stolen. Then we have the BVR, which is the biometric register kit. So that's the BVR. And that is what is being used today in the process. And we are saying that the laptops are the critical elements of the BVR. And so if anybody gets a laptop, he actually has a BVR and can do anything to the system. And so that links to the suspicion that I was raising about, the process is being changed. So if now the districts are supposed to activate the softwares themselves with a guide, and the persons who have stolen these laptops get the guide to activate those laptops, it means that they can do registration anywhere, which will feed into the system. The issue about the missing laptops and the missing BVR goes beyond the explanation that the Electoral Commission is giving. It is much more grievous and dangerous and underpins the integrity of our electoral processes. We may have to interrogate it some more. Let's not be taking those explanations, it is nothing, if it is stolen, it doesn't have the scanner and all those things, so it cannot work. No, it is not true. Anybody who has a laptop and has the system and is able to activate the system is in the database. Unless the Electoral Commission are telling us that they have redesigned a new, entry point into the database and that all the softwares on the current BVRs have been changed. But that has not been done. It means that anybody having the laptop can access the Electoral Commission registration database if he activates that and can.
So your suspicion, Dr. Boamah Otokunor, is that these BVRs, as you insist, will be used to compromise the process, and there is no way, you've been to IPAC on this, there's no way that the Electoral Commission can circumvent this. Is that what you're suggesting?
That is what we are suspecting. By all technical knowledge and the standard operating procedures for these BVRs, unless maybe they are giving us better explanations. I would have wanted the Electoral Commission to come out and tell us how they can prevent such instances from happening, or how they can prevent, how their systems have been built enough, to secure itself from, external entry, particularly as and when these devices have been stolen. So we are not getting that explanation. And from what you heard from Dr. Shribwokweku, it doesn't appear to be enough explanation to put us at ease that this problem could be prevented.
Okay, hold for me briefly. Let me bring back Evans Nimako. Mr. Nimako, are you still with me?
Yes, please.
Okay, you've listened to your counterpart on the other side, Dr. Peter Boamah Otokunor. He's raised concern, and I know these matters have been discussed at IPAC, and your end has said at a point that, look, it's not that serious. Does it become more serious with what he is saying now, especially with the kickstart of the limited voter registration exercise? And is it true, what he says, that, these laptops could be used anywhere to register people at different points. Do you agree with that line of thinking?
Okay, thank you. But we've never said as a party that the issue of missing materials of the EC should not be taken serious. We've never said that in it.
No, I never said that they shouldn't be taken seriously. But I have heard, and I can check, that it is not that the NDC is suggesting that the NDC is making a mountain out of a molehill, and that it's not such a bad issue. I have heard that. I can easily check for you, sir.
Well, I think that the NDC must help with the prosecution of this whole exercise. The EC said portions of their BVR kits have been stolen, 5 of them, laptops, and they reported to the police. Let the NDC assist the police to undertake this investigation. The issue of characterization or recharacterization of the activation code, I think the EC should be in a position to inform us of how this exercise is being done this time round. I also think that we shouldn't create unnecessary tension in this whole exercise. The issue of missing DVDs, DVRs that the NDC were confusing it initially until IPAC cleared it that it is portion of the DVR kit, which is the computer that had been stolen and has been reported. They had earlier put forward the issue that it is DVDs that were missing. Be as it may, things have been stolen at the EC's office. EC has reported the issue to the police. Let all those who have information assist with the investigation so that we can move on. On the issue of registration exercise, somebody registered in Kaswa, which is the central region, and is issued with an ID that has information.
Ayawaso North.
Putting the person to a district in Greater Accra. Will all be part of the questions that we have to put to the EC to let us know how they have done their code so that this whole issue of MESA will be addressed. But I'm happy that Dr. Boamah mentioned that anytime registration starts, you experience these kind of challenges. That's why I said earlier that going forward, I expect that issue of EC system activation challenges here and there will be addressed. We've gotten that from the EC yesterday, and I'm hoping that today onwards, we are not going to experience that. But I can understand the NDC will never stop to a large extent some of these allegations and issues that they have little defense for. We have discussed this missing laptop at IPA. I can have strong difficulty as to how a computer out of the BVR kit could be used in a certain area by somebody to generate voters list. But to a large extent, I will not be surprised because if you could remember, between Madame Charlotte Osei and Alhaji Sule, there was an issue of registration aside the normal EC registration time. And so, if NDC is raising this issue, I'm not surprised. But I think that the system that the EC has put in place now will not give credence to some of these issues Dr. Otokunor is raising. And I've said that the New Patriotic Party, our eyes are on all the processes that will lead to the EC undertaking registration exercise, because the register is key. Okay. And if we go back, the New Patriotic Party has always been firm and clear on how we can have credible register.
So all right. So just to clarify,
and the NDC thinks that they have issues, they should raise it accordingly. But we should put to rest this issue of missing laptops and how it can influence the registration. Even kits, BVR kits in registration centers yesterday with that activation code could not function.
Right.
I can a mere laptop, 5 of them, generate a whole register for the conduct of 2024 election.
Okay, so just before I take your final words on a specific matter, gentlemen, Mr. Dimako, so what you're saying is you have full trust in, and just tell me if what you're saying is that you have full trust in the EC to navigate this process and to ensure that the right things are done, right?
I'm not saying you will not have full trust.
No, but you have trust in the EC to be able to conduct this freely, fairly, and to register people.
As it is in the law, all processes must be followed accordingly, and we will monitor it.
Okay. Mr. Dimako, don't go. I have a final bit for both of you, and then that's it. Peter Boamah Otokunor, do you have that same faith in the Electoral Commission? Briefly.
Well, past events has not given us any ample confidence, any modicum of confidence in the Electoral Commission, and I'm sure by now you should know that. But most importantly,
you say modicum, so you don't even have the least confidence in the EC.
Absolutely not. And let me make the point that it is only
but Peter Boamah, I'm sorry I'm heckling you. I'm sorry I'm heckling you. How can you say that? The EC, every EC has had some problems, but they still carry out their work. You're saying you're not even giving them the least bit of credit on this matter. Is that fair?
Well, maybe they have a lot to prove to the NDC and the entire general Ghanaian populace, and we are very, very expectant of that. We are all hoping to build confidence in the Electoral Commission because they are a state institution. But incidentally, we have not had that in the past, and it is our hope that we are going to get that in future. But back to the point, I want to emphasize that it may be only an uninitiated person who doesn't understand the electoral process who would say that a missing laptop from the BVR kit is not a problem. In actual fact, what you have to interrogate is what constitutes the BVR kit. There are 3 major components: the laptop, the fingerprint scanner, and the camera. That's all. Those are what do you call BVR kits? These are the items. Now, the key component is the laptop. The laptop is the one that houses the software which we activate to give you access to the system to start the registration exercise. If the scanner gets missing, I do not have a problem because the scanners may not be any challenging. If the cameras are missing, nobody would even talk. But in this case, it is the laptop that is missing. The laptop is actually the main BVR kit. If you do not have the laptop, you can't do any data entry and you can't register anybody. And so our point is that for the laptops to be missing and they are not yet found, and the Electoral Commission now devises even new processes of activation, which makes it even easier for somebody to access the software and to activate the software and do extrajudicial registration. It's a big problem. And those are the things that must be interrogated. That is the conversation that we are bringing on board.
Okay.
It's not about somebody confusing BVDs and BVR. In actual fact, the allegations that we made all were correct and genuine and true. Indeed, BVR devices too are missing. When we raised the issue of the BVD devices, they said that, the BVD devices were during the assembly elections, some got destroyed. Well, we have seen communications from the Electoral Commission which sought to suggest that some of the districts were keeping the BVR devices and they couldn't retrieve all. But they have come and agreed that some of the BVD devices are also missing. Then the BVR devices are also missing. But what I am speaking to specifically today, which is of relevance to the conversation now, is the BVR kits.
All right.
From which
I think that point,
missing,
that point
which we believe is a challenge.
Is clear. Just a final bit, 1 minute each, gentlemen. We have to go. Day one, there were some challenges, even with vouching and all of that. How challenging was this for you? What are the actions? Because I know that on both sides, there were some challenges raised. What is the way forward on that? Final words, less than a minute each. I'll start with you, Dr. Otokunor.
Okay, so there are numerous challenges, breakdown of systems, the printers are not working, and as you have rightly mentioned, some guarantor system challenges. Now, we would need the Electoral Commission to clarify for the general populace the issues with the guarantor systems, because by law, every single individual is supposed to guarantee for not more than 10 people. And when you do that, you have violated the processes and you may even suffer your own registration. And so that is a matter that exists. But remember, the current registration database that we have has gone through 3 cycles. And so there was the first cycle in 2020, the next second cycle in 2023, then there is this cycle in 2024. Now, the Electoral Commission must clarify to us how they have designed the system. Whether in 2020 somebody had guaranteed for 9 people, in 2013 that person could guarantee for another 9 people, and for that matter in 2024 they can guarantee for another 9 or 10 people.
Right.
Is it the case that the limit is based on the registration cycle, or as a human being, when you guarantee for 10 people you cannot guarantee again? All this must be explained clearly.
I think those are things that you can get answers for at IPAC. Those are things that you can definitely get answers for at IPAC.
No, Kaku, this one, it is not IPAC matter because the process is ongoing. And so that must be, explained. That must be cleared so that it will not affect the process, because after this registration, there will not be any registration exercise again. And I doubt if there will be any IPAC during these processes. So all these things must be cleared so that we would be able to have a smooth registration exercise.
Thank you so much, Doc, for joining the conversation. Let me hear from Evans Nimako and then we're gone. Evans?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think, you see, this whole exercise, the conversation is centering around the guarantor system. If it had been taken away in the news year, I don't think we would have been backing our head over this.
But what do you think about what he says? In each cycle, if someone guaranteed for 9 people or 10 people, do they have the right in the next cycle to do it, or is it 10 and you are done? Those are crucial questions.
Yes, I think on that score, I agree with Dr. Boamah Otokunor. Yesterday, it came to me that the EC at the point said that if you guarantee for somebody and you've exceeded the threshold of 10, you cannot do again. We must know whether it ends in each registration system or it's a continuing thing. It's an interpretation that must come from the EC. So on that score, I agree with him. But we want to urge all those who are part of this exercise, political parties, the media, the EC, to ensure that you have a fair system, peaceful one, of course, to allow people who are eligible to be registered to go through the process. And those who want to abuse it, I think that they must face the law. It can't be right that you are not due, you are not qualified. You still want to find knuckles means to get onto the electoral roll.
Right. Mr. Nimako, we are so grateful. Every time we call on you, you are so gracious and you join us. We're grateful for your time, sir. That is Evans Nimako, who joined the conversation there, Director of Research and Elections with the NPP. We also had Dr. Peter Boamah Otokunor of the NDC joining the conversation as well. But stay with us, because even as we move away from here, we're talking about other crucial matters, topical matters. The OSP and EOCO are slugging it out. It's becoming a brawl, a melee, with the AG on a different end. The question is, are we doing what is right in the fight against corruption? And how did we get here? We'll be back with more on some of those issues.